evening. Welcome to the Yellow Springs Board of Education February 8th, 2018 meeting. Just to inform the public, we were in executive session at 6 o'clock until we're just starting back up now. And we are moving on with our agenda with the approval of minutes for January 11th and January 23rd. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, anybody have any issues with any of those? Okay, roll call.
Sean,
Yes.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Aida.
Yes. Motion passes. I'd like to acknowledge the people who are present and welcome everybody here. Moving on to communications, presentations and reports. 2.1, we have communications letters from Jean Barker dated January 9th, 2008, as well as Ashley Tharbs dated January 11th, 2018. I'd like to address our audience and ask if there's anybody who would like to address the board at this moment. Go ahead, Eli. Surprise!
Surprise!
Hi, Eli.
Hi. So I'm Eli Hurwitz. I'm representing Yellow Springs Education Association. The microphone is really on. So thank you, Madam President. I would like to start with recognizing a couple of our members that have been recognized in the news. Jody Chick and the Bulldog Brigade were recognized this past week in the Yellow Springs News for Jody's work bringing her students into the community to work. Harper, one of our students, you might have recognized him somewhere. He's on the front page working at the Winds. That's one of his jobs. This is amazing work that she's brought to our school and helped grow, and the students have really grown because of it. Here at Mills Lawn, we have all of our teachers are working with their students to recognize hidden figures both in the community and outside, based off of the idea in the movie, but people that are not recognized for the changes they've added to, the growth they've added to our country because of who they are, what they look like. And I want to really recognize Mikasa Sims and Jennifer Scavone for the work of bringing in local members of our community that have made a change in our community, recording them, helping their students record them, and then the students have worked with Ms. Davis's 5th grade class to turn those into little movies, which were ridiculously awesome. And all of the kids worked really well together over the course of a day to make those work really well. I am stepping on some administrative reports here because our teachers say, the last one I want to recognize is one of our members, Jamie Adolph, is being recognized this month and I want to get it correct, but it's through the SPLC. He's one of the top 10 finalists for the Teaching Tolerance Award for Excellence in Teaching, which the SPLC does amazing work in our world and in our country.
Want to say who that is, just for people who don't know?
The Southern Poverty Law Center, and I know that in the report later today, Dr. Cryer is going to elaborate on the richness of this award, but I want to recognize our member here as well. And I've worked with all of our members, and I want to make a public statement saying that YACA is in support of the May school levy. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. And bravo. All right, there's no schools in action tonight, and we are moving into our administrative reports.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening.
Hello.
So Eli kind of gave a little warmer upper to what I'm going to talk about. So Black History Month is February, as we all know, and just a little history in our building. We've always really focused on February as a month to highlight Black history, hidden figures, local history. But we also are very intentional about throughout the entire year making sure that we're teaching in a way that's inclusive to everyone that's contributed to our history. But we make a big deal of Black History Month. It's something that's a passion for a lot of our staff members, including myself. We've done this in different ways in classrooms. We always have an assembly. We always feature it on the morning news. But what's really cool about this year is that a group of about 6 or 7 staff members decided to really take it on and commit to it and do a lot of work in the classroom and building level to just kind of make it our own and really highlight student learning throughout the month. So that's been really awesome. Every day we had a sign up where different classrooms would go onto the morning news and they would feature a hidden figure. And there were different themes around, arts and athletics and historians and different categories of historical figures. So that's been really awesome because every classroom has a stake in it, and they have representatives from their classroom going onto the morning news. So if you want to go and check that out, it's right off of our website. It's WMLS, and it's broadcast on our YouTube channel every day, and it's some really cool stuff. My job this month is to feature educators. So far I've done Jeffrey Canada and Fanny Jackson Coppin. So those are 2 educators that did amazing things in our country to advance education. So I've got a whole list of folks that I'm going to feature this month on the news. I'm always on there Mondays and Fridays. So that's been really exciting as well. So that's what's going on right now. I mean, basically my whole report is about this effort around Black History Month, but also the Hidden Figures Project, which Eli talked about a little bit. I am so excited about this project because it's something where, a first grade project are some of our youngest kids, but they're so passionate, they're going in depth, they're really creating an experience that's really special for them as well as the community. And in this room, tons of local hidden figures came in, and people that our students have never met. They're coming in dressed up in suits and really nice clothing, and so it was really special for the elders that came in, and the first graders are in here interviewing them and getting all of this rich information and storytelling, and it was just awesome. I was sitting in there doing some work and just watching all these individuals coming in, and it was just really cool, and I knew it was special for the students as well as our citizens that came in, and also Mikasa, who knows all of these people in a different way. She's grown up here, so she knew them as a child on up to an adult and a teacher in our school district. So just really cool, great things happening. We have an assembly coming up where I believe it's on the 22nd or 23rd. I have to look at my calendar to remember, but that's going to be kind of the culmination of this project, where a lot of the videos and the bios that they did in the Hidden Figure project will be shared. There'll be a gallery. There's going to be a kind of a living museum. We're going to have an assembly with guest speakers and lots of student presentations. So I'll try to send out an email so that you guys that's on your radar. But it's just really, it's really awesome.
That's great. So are these movies is the public going to be able to see them somehow with our community members that are being interviewed and stuff?
I think that we might be able to feature them on our website, or definitely the folks that came in and were interviewed will have access to those. We did some professional photography, so there's a really nice picture of each person that came in, as well as a bio that the first and second graders are writing, as well as a video. And I don't know exactly how polished that's going to be, but I mean Mikasa is kind of all the way up to here because it's just so big. But there's a lot of pride there in how it's come together. So
Nice.
May I chime in?
yeah, please.
So there are a lot of community organizations that contributed to support this project, including the 365 Project, the Human Relations Commission of the Village Council, the PTO, the Principals Fund, and we're currently talking to the Arts and Culture Commission of the Village Council. They were interested in being a sponsor for the project, but they would also like to possibly make copies of the portraits and some of the other artifacts that the students are going to be making and place them in a permanent collection
this place is like high tech high, you know, only more authentic. And I think that's just amazing, and shows how far we've come in 5 years. And I think even though we're in it, sometimes we think like, gosh, do we still know what we're doing yet? But it really is remarkable, and we forget how many gains we've made from year to year to year to get to the spot we're in right now. So I think it's just as a touchstone, a pulse of where we are K-12, it's a remarkable compliment. So some things that I think sort of fit nicely under the umbrella. We had our second annual day of empowerment. Aida's part of the organizational stuff. Kate Lohmeyer sort of carries the water on all of it. A remarkable thing. It's our second annual, so we tried it once last year, and this was built upon the girls' nights, which are built into the boys' nights, and that usually got 60 to 80 kids or so. So then we brought it into the day itself. Just tons of high-minded adults trying to help mentor and provide, you know, curriculum that the kids don't often get. Great experience for everybody, young and old alike. Following along what Eli shared in terms of Jamie Adolph, this is really a big award, and it's really a big thing to even be a finalist for, I think. So there are 10 across the entire country. It's biannual, meaning every other year. So they've been doing it for about a decade or so, you know, you can kind of see some of the things they do is evidence-based practices that help, you know, everyone in the community learn to thrive in a diverse society. And so it's a remarkable honor, and you know, wherever, if Jamie ends up being one of the top 5, you know, kudos, but really even to make it through, I don't even know how many people have, you know, get nominated for it or apply for it or whatever, but he's probably well situated to be able to do it. And to his credit, what he says, you know, being in his second year here, he says, you know, this is all part of a team effort. Whether it's working with Cameron McCoy and Carlene Materney on the Race and Revolution project, or just learning to work with the McKinney team themselves. This is really a team effort. So the last piece I just want to kind of point out was High School Musical, Disney's High School Musical. You have to say that. Otherwise
the house comes in.
They're outside the door. So a new way, if you've ever been there and been turned away at the door because the line's too long, they sell the tickets, and they almost always sell out each one of the 6 shows. The ticketing is online this year, so we're hoping that goes well, and hope it sort of prevents some unhappy folks headed home without actually getting a chance to see the music.
So been a decision about where it's going to be actually?
You know, I'll get back to you on that one. There's been a lot of talk.
So what about,
Go online now.
what about folks who aren't like necessarily?
That's a great question. I knew someone was going to answer.
You can still buy them here.
At the door? Okay, that seems important.
I don't think at the door. I think you'd have to contact the school.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, anyway, there are other ways to do it. Sure.
I'll get back to you on that.
That's fair. That's fair. When's it coming up?
I thought you'd be sold.
If you go online.
Gotcha, okay. Got it. It's coming up.
Do you know?
That's
It's
a
on March 9th and March 16th.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, I'll see you before then.
I hope
It
so.
will be advertised in the newspaper as well.
Don't worry,
Yes.
I'll be through being an irritating parent
No, that's
volunteer
all right.
sooner than you want.
Peter Arts
It's the
Association.
only reason I
You just helped a
know.
bunch, that was good. Yeah. Well, I know
You
that there
gotta
was
staff the box office.
so the reason I asked about the location is there's been a lot of discussion about doing it in the high school gym itself, which will be really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently.
However, there's a real challenge with that, obviously, lots of challenges with it, especially at that time of year, and, you know, so. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You would think this would be an easy thing to do, and even borrowing our sports uniforms, that's not as easy as you might think. So it's Disney.
You like saying the Disney part, I just like saying the High School Musical is High School Musical.
It's what?
But-
What's the
Yeah,
name
exactly.
of it?
Exactly.
Yeah, but exactly, that's exactly what it sounds
Airbase.
like. That's right. All right, thank you, everybody, and thank you to our incredible staff and the energy and the creativity that they continue to pull from and work with our students. Pretty amazing stuff. Okay, Moving into more exciting news, treasurer's report.
It's all a crescendo today.
Anything exciting today. We received the fourth quarter of 2017 income tax payment. It was a little over $300,000. Every time we get an income tax payment, I'll put the spreadsheet in and show you the historical collections throughout the year. So this one was a pretty high one. It was about 21% higher than even the past 5 years of fourth quarter payments. So I was really excited about that, and I think even when I look at what we're only going to get one more payment, we'll get a payment on April 30th. That'll be the last one of the fiscal year. I think it's going to come in over what I had estimated, because since we had decreased before, I had only done a 2% increase, so I think it's going to be higher than that. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher than that. So we received the full calendar year 17. In 2017 was 16.6 higher. 16.6% higher than 2016, so this is great. I'm happy about that. So hopefully that'll keep going. And then this is where I get to do a joke. Casino tax.
Yay! My favorite.
Well, I've got another historical spreadsheet, and that's the last page. I don't know if you want to scroll down to
Yeah,
this
sure.
for kids, but. I can show you where we're at, and it's just amazing to me that there was so much growth projected, and it was projected to grow so fast. And like our second payment for this fiscal year had decreased over the first payment that we received in August, and that $19,000 that we received in August was the highest payment we've ever received. The $18,400 is kind of just right around what we've been receiving, so there's just no growth in this whatsoever, and it's such a small amount of money. And we have an $8 million budget, and we're not even getting $40,000 a year. It's supposed to be helpful to our budget, so it's just kind of depressing. I had a couple of CDs come due at the end of December, and I have been working with my investment guy on redepositing those monies. We're looking right now, I don't want to go out too long because the interest rates are just going up and up and up. So we decided we'll probably just go out maybe a year to a year and a half, redeposit some money that should be around 1.5%. So I just keep trying to put it in there, but I also, the guy works for Fifth Third, and he's the one who buys the CDs for me, but we were just talking about how the Max Saver Plus, which is basically a liquid account, has been earning 1.45%. I said, I've got to have an incentive to sock money away anywhere, because I can just keep it in there and earn almost the same. So I really, and once we get all of our tax advances from the county auditor, I'm going to try to take as much money out of U.S. Bank as possible and just keep it in Max Saver, because it's just earning such a better interest rate. So I'm working on the investments. I listed out for you, we didn't get any larger grants this month, but we've got a bunch of our Charlotte Drake Youth Philanthropy grants, and I don't know that any of the principals will want to talk about those because they're such small dollar amounts, but that's what we received for this month. Those are run by Desiree Nickel and students and some of the teachers. And do you have anything you want to say?
I do want to add one thing. The testing for lead, I forgot to include this in the board report. There is no lead in our building's water.
Wow.
That's what they put, yeah. And it came out, they tested the exact day that it came out in Dayton Daily News for everybody else's lead content. So it was, so I'm sitting around. It took like 6 days to get the results. It really is.
That's
It
really
is.
important to know.
And I think they're going to try to reach out to Mills Lawn and do their water there.
This is part of a project the kids are working on.
Part of a project, yeah.
So, interesting, we have a communism Marxism study group,
Yeah, who knows what whatever the money is, I'm sure they're all sharing it.
That's for sure.
Can I speak about that just for
Yeah.
a second? So, a lot of these projects, that is really good. A lot of these projects came out of Miss Nickel working with Miss Simon. They came up with a project that followed the human-centered design model to identify issues that the students found that they wanted to address within the school. So they identified through sign-ups, through surveys, things that were problems. there was no place to talk about communism and Marxism as an example, so the club was founded. But the feminine hygiene dispenser, the school supply drive, these are all things that came out of it. A student desire to own the place they go to school, which was beautiful.
Okay, and then the last thing I had in my notes is, we have advertised this week, a request for quote for construction manager at risk. And I think I'm just gonna defer talking about that until Mario starts talking about facilities, and then we can update them on why we're doing that and where we're at on that.
Sounds good.
That concludes my report.
Thank
Quick
you.
question,
Yes, sir.
just what's the explanation for 16.6? Is there, just, why was it so much higher? And do you know any, for the, going up to the top?
Oh, for the income tax?
Yeah, just 21%
varies.
higher, 16%, like
It
what
just,
made it?
it varies. I mean, it's income tax depends on, you know, someone received a windfall payment. We do have a celebrity that lives in the district.
So
and
numerous
sometimes you just
variables
don't
there.
know what those are. And
Okay,
when we've had variances like that, I have called the Ohio Department of Taxation before. They're not allowed to disclose any personal information about
Okay.
anybody, so we just kind of have to live with what we get.
okay, but in this case, it was quite the plus, or whatever.
Yes, I like it when it
Right.
goes that direction.
This is the
It's been a
right
lot
kind
of
of
years ago going the
Yeah.
other direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a great question, and we don't know if it's a trend yet, because it's just,
It could be just.
now in
Because we
18.
so recently lost money with the income
Right.
tax and we're decreasing, so.
So I guess during 18, we'll see whether this is trending at upward, or at least stable at that high level, and have a better sense going forward whether
Right.
it is becoming it already is a hugely important source of income to support the schools.
Yes, it is.
And it's designed to grow over time, and obviously with the recession, we saw it
Right.
dive, so we've recovered, and we'll see it trending forward in a way that it was designed for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Gosh. No, we can't cross our fingers, that can't be the solution, or hope. But yeah, let's keep an eye on it and see how it does.
Yeah, the nice thing is with that and state funding, at least rising recently, those two things together could really help us long-term to stave off any future operating levy longer, you know.
All right, thank you. All right, Superintendent's Report.
Okay, so let me start with, so this is the semi-annual bullying report time, and here's the report that the principal submitted for each building. And so I guess I want to suggest that this is a very positive report. It's one of the most positive mid-year reports I think we've seen at this point. And it sort of goes in line with what I've heard from both principals, that if you remember last year at this time, we were really concerned about just generally what's been happening in the country as a whole affecting our school district. And what I've heard from both guys so far in the buildings is that has really largely been radically different this year compared to last school year. And I think it's sort of reflected in this data to an extent, that the behavior of our students have been much better than I think what we saw last year at this time. That doesn't mean there's not bullying happening or some of those kinds of things. It does mean that it's significantly less. And I think it's important to clarify again for the community, you know, that this is going by the state definition of what bullying is, as opposed to maybe what other folks might think bullying means, you know, which is a little bit different, I think. And so these are the incidents that would be classified as bullying based on state definition. So, you guys want to add anything about student behavior around these issues, relatively speaking? I mean, I know I've heard a lot from you, Tim, specifically.
Yeah, we track discipline referrals, and we're half at where we were last year at this time.
Oh, wow.
And perhaps the lowest maybe that we've ever had in the first semester. So it's great. It's great. So it's quite a difference from last year as well.
I mean, I would echo that. I mean, I think we've had a very low rate of student referrals to the office, or just drama between students, negativity. It's been a great year.
Excellent.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there some wood we can knock on? No, it's been a great year, we're very lucky in that way, and it's, I think, it's hard to judge what the sort of splitting factor is, but I think it's a been a good year. I think we can say that we're not in last year anyway, so that's a positive thing. And we're not in that sort of crazy election cycle that we had, I think, last year that affected everybody, I think, in a pretty significant way. Just facilities update, so that's the next item on the agenda. Since last month, we've processed, Dawn has, I should say, processed all the resolutions over the past month. And we just got an email, I think today, right, from State Department of Taxation, that they've received the final, go-ahead, I think, to go forward. And so it's all positive news, things are progressing in the right direction. So we're on track to be on the May ballot for this 4.7 mill levy and 1/4% income tax. So things are going according to plan at this point. Since last month, the levy committee has formed. We have TJ Turner and Mac Richon are co-chairs of the committee. Jelana Lazar is the treasurer, and she's been the treasurer for, I think, a few committees in a row now. I have to say the committee is super organized. I think there was a meeting last week where we had 15 people at the meeting, active, and they're meeting on a regular basis to sort of make plans for the levy campaign. For anybody who's interested in being involved, if you were, that was something that was of interest to you, TJ Turner and Mac Richon are the people to talk to in that regard. And both of them are community members, and both of them have children in the schools as well, and so they're pretty actively involved in leading the campaign. In addition to that, over the past month, so there was the CMR, the Construction Manager at Risk RFQ that we put together, which is basically a request for proposals from construction management firms to get moving. If the community decides to support the levy in May, we'll need to get started right away, quickly with the construction firm to start working on the project. And so this is a request for proposals from those construction firms that do specifically school construction work. And so we advertised in the Yellow Springs News as well as the Dayton Daily News. And we have to go 30 days from the date that that's advertised to actually reviewing the request for qualifications, and we have a committee that's working on that on behalf of the board, which includes our core team. So we're looking at Aida, Steve, myself, Dawn, and all working together in reviewing those RFQs. And I think we're going to include Craig in that process as well, who's our local maintenance supervisor. And then the idea will be to pick the 3 finalists from that, and then have a gathering where they have a chance to come and learn more about and ask questions. And then ultimately, there'll be an RFP where those finalists can then submit final proposals, and then we can choose someone to recommend to the board. Now, we won't have anybody, the board won't vote on this, obviously, until officially the actual vote, after the vote in May. If it passes, then we immediately be able to support the new construction management firm to come in, but until then, obviously, we can't do that. But it really tees it up for that so that we can move very quickly once the levy ends to move forward with that process. So that's pretty much what we've been doing, I think, in the past month. We're getting ready to send more communication. Last board meeting, you all sent a letter out that went to the whole community showing your support for moving for the levy that ultimately we put on the ballot. And I think over the next few weeks, we're going to be sending more communication on behalf of the school, inviting folks to come to the March 1st meeting, which is actually just coming up in a few weeks, where we'll be presenting the plan as it looks right now for this space, this building, and giving the community a chance to see it, and ask any questions they may have about where it is right now and where we're going. And in addition to that, within a few weeks after that, and all of this will be in that postcard that folks will get in the next week or two, we're inviting people to come on a bus tour with us to go visit a few places that had some recent construction, that have elements that we're considering and thinking about for our building. And so I think it'd be great to have community members come and see Bethel High School, which has had an addition renovation similar to what we're talking about doing. And I think it would be really cool to take a trip out to Bethel and see what they're doing, and look at some of the elements that will be consistent with what we're thinking about doing in our schools. And so for people to see what that looks like during the day, with kids there, will be kind of cool, and experience it. And then we're also going to go to the, we've decided not to go to the Vandalia Library, but to go to the Northwest Dayton Library, because I think that's a really interesting space and has a whole different face that I think is really neat. And also, that library has some really great elements that I think we can incorporate, not just in our library, but in our school in general. And so it's a really cool spot to look at, and also recently built. And so it'll just kind of give the community a chance to really see what's out there, what's possible in our schools, and what the most updated schools are doing to meet students' needs and 21st century learners. Because we have to remember our school was built, in an era where the computers didn't even exist. And the truth is, if we want to meet the needs of the 21st century learner, we have to change the way our facilities look to reflect those the needs our kids have, I think, going into the future. Last thing I want to, anything else you want to add about facilities, Don? Okay, so the other thing I want to point out is talk about John Merrow. So John Merrow is a very famous, not infamous, famous educator nationally. And he was the education consultant for PBS, and before that did some work with NPR as well. And he's written tons of books about education reform and progressive education, and a really great guy. Actually happens to be good friends with our own Richard Lapidus here, went to high school with him. And so Richard invited him to come out to Dayton and Yellow Springs, and he's part of organizing a major visit where John's going to feature his latest book. I'm trying to remember it again.
12 steps.
12 steps to education reform or something like that.
Addicted to school reform.
Oh, yeah, Addicted to School Reform, 12 steps to making educational change. So, Addicted to School Reform by John Merrow, and he's going to be in Dayton on the 27th, I believe, and then on the 28th of February, just in a couple weeks, we want the whole community or anybody who wants to come out to see him at the Greene County ESC right here in town, here in Yellow Springs, at 4 o'clock. He'll be here to give another talk to the community, and I think if you sign up early, you can still get books for free. And so there's an opportunity to do that. And if you need to figure out how to connect with that, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll direct you in the right direction to help get everyone signed up. So John Merrow, 4 o'clock on the 28th of February. Come on out. It'd be worth checking out. He's again a national, one of the prominent thinkers around progressive education in our country today, and I'm excited for him to be here. Incidentally, on March 1st, the following day, John's going to get a chance to tour Yellow Springs schools. And so we'll show him around, and so we'll show him some of the work we've been doing in our schools, and we're excited about doing that with him on the following day. So that's John Merrow coming up in just a few weeks.
There's a flyer in today's paper.
Oh, okay, great. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. As well.
Yeah, and then you can figure out how to sign up, from that flyer. So.
Yeah. All right, anybody have anything for Mario? Okay, moving on to our the administrative portion of our consent calendar, 4.2 through 4.7. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, anything to,
Yeah.
yes.
So just Susan accidentally left off the organizational meeting, and we just, forgot to put that on the OSBA membership and the Yellow Springs Chamber of Commerce as board affiliations. And usually we do that every single year, so it's sort of adding it now in February to make sure we have it in there. And then you saw the standards, the resolution for the standards and maintenance agreement between the Greene County Career Center and Yellow Springs School District. If Steve wants to comment on that, he can, but I just want to give an overview very quickly, and if you have anything to add, that'd be great. But basically, the Career Center is setting up these agreements for satellite programs throughout the county, and getting some really good legal language to codify the relationship better than what's been done in the past, which we haven't really had a lot of that in the past, and so I think that's the idea behind it. Steve, you want to?
Yeah, no, we were all just sort of surprised to discover that such agreements had never been drawn up before, ever, so far as anybody could tell. So I think Dave's doing the right thing. Dave Deskins at the Career Center is smart to just put this all in writing and formalize it a little bit so that there are actual memos here, and these relationships can be, that there's a paper trail here. So I'm pleased that he did this, though we were a little surprised it hadn't been done before.
Yeah. The other thing I want to point out is the school calendar. So this is the school calendar for your reading and approval. We've added exhibition nights in the calendar at the request of teachers to do that now, and actually our our PBL coaching team felt like this was important to have in there, so those dates are all in your calendar now. I will say that there has been some discussion, and I think it's important to share this publicly with the board and community. There has been some discussion amongst teachers and staff about trying to think about those first 4 days at the beginning of the year a little bit differently. But part of the challenge is, if you remember when we agreed to late Wednesdays, we said that we would take those days out of the regular school year during the year and maybe include them on the front end instead of during the year, so there would be additional days during the year where kids would be off. Instead of doing that, we exchanged those for late Wednesdays. And so there's just some discussion about, I think at least some of our staff, a lot of our staff are interested in trying to figure out something different with those 4 days. So right now, we're going to keep them in, but I think something maybe over the next year we can start discussing more, maybe publicly with the community a little bit too, to see if that's an okay thing we can do, and keep the late Wednesdays as well, to better meet the needs of our staff and in terms of professional development. So we'll just talk more about it, I think, over the next year, and it could be in the next year we come up with something different for the following school year.
All right. Anybody, anything else?
I guess as a follow-on to that,
Yeah.
I mean, how, we were doing the late Wednesday, so this is our 3rd year?
I think this might be our 4th year?
4th year?
This year, right now?
It would be interesting as you look at those first 4 days, to also evaluate like how,
Yeah.
because I remember the presentation and this was a conclusion, to do the late start, or late, starts, how that's been working, and maybe
Yeah.
some evaluation of that also, as part of thinking of those first 4
Yeah.
days, but thinking about the whole.
That's a great idea. Maybe we can send some things out to our staff and get some feedback from them. You know, I can tell you anecdotally, our staff, from what my understanding, people really appreciate that time now more than ever. I think there's a great deal of collegiality that's formed through that. It really has been probably the biggest aid to shifting our culture, I think, organizationally, and the culture around feedback and giving each other both warm and cool feedback. So now it's sort of, I think we're at a place right now where I think our teachers, for the most part, not only can accept feedback from their peers, it's a little bit more critical, but want that feedback and are using it then, and then kind of changing their practices based on the feedback they're getting from their peers, which I think is a positive thing. I mean, in education, historically, it's been really folks working in silos, you know, and so that doesn't always happen. So to see this change happen, I think, has been huge for us. And I don't want to speak for the teachers, but do you have anything you want to add about that? I mean, your opinion?
I'd say that on Late Start Wednesdays, our practice of tuning is possibly one of the best things that we do for teachers and as teachers in our district. And it's immediately then transferable to the classroom, both in improving projects before students see them, but also the practice of tuning in a classroom with students is a practice that keeps happening, not necessarily K, but 112, which, you know, to practice a practice, use it in the classroom, and see all of the benefits for everybody. I'd say it's a win-win.
All right. Moving on. Continuing through,
So we're on item.
roll call. Roll call for 4.2 through 4.7.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Aida,
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
All right, moving into the personnel portion of the consent calendar, 4.8 through 4.10. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
So,
Thank you. All right.
So just a lot of non-renewals of some of those typical contracts that we non-renew. The adjustment, so just very quickly, this was a little bit of a mistake that was made in the last agenda. Alpha 3.0 grant is actually $40 an hour. It was listed at $25 an hour, I think because in previous years it had been paid at $25 an hour. But in keeping with what is in the agreement for the Deeper Learning Training Center, at $40 an hour is typically what we pay in that language. And so this year, Alpha, the grant application itself, included $40 an hour in it, so therefore we could pay $40 an hour, whereas previously I think it included $25 an hour in it. So that's where the mistake, I think, happened, and so we're just clearing that up right now. Again, all funded by the grant. Just wanted to make that clear. And then Jean Barker is leaving, her family's moving, they moved to Cleveland, And so Eden Madison, Eden Robertson, Madison, that sort of stepped in as a sub nurse for us in the meantime, so.
That's great. All of our community members who come in and help us when we need it.
Yeah, former student,
Yeah.
graduate, parent.
All right, anybody have anything? That's okay. Roll call, please.
Steve Cohen,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Aida,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Sylvia.
Yes.
All right, we're on to board communications, 5.1. We're looking at setting a time and date for a board work session, which I think we talked about last month a little bit, and looking at,
Yeah, did we talk about using it, I believe you and I, we recently talked about using it for facilities kind of update as well, right? I think that was the discussion at least.
yeah.
Having more in-depth discussion about some of the work going on with it, with the board. So I don't know if and when you all want to schedule that.
Seems like after maybe that March 1st community meeting, no?
Sounds great.
And
Would be a
after
great time.
Merrow and all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and remind me when spring break is though, so that.
The last week of March.
23rd.
Like starts the.
What'd you say?
March 23rd. 43 days from now. It's not that I'm counting to spring break, I'm counting because
I know.
we're
Say
taking
hi.
a lot of students to
It's not
Peru.
all the kids.
How many kids totally, like?
Students,
1 million.
1 million. I think there are a total of 47 travelers.
That's a big
Wow.
deal.
Yeah, that is.
Well, let's talk about it on the camera, because, so that people.
Yeah.
Right, this is
know what
important
we're
because I
talking
think,
about.
so 47 travelers, and how many students do we have in the entire high school? Like, just the high school, 912.
Yeah.
In the high school?
Oh,
just-
not even middle school?
No.
Not including middle school,
No.
it's 270.
So 270 are eligible to go on this trip, and we have 47 essentially going. So that's literally, I mean, do the math, almost a quarter of our high school students who are going on this trip, international trip.
It's a little less than that because we have 3 parents traveling with us.
Yeah. Three parents too, but still, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Students from the Career Center and students from
Students
our
from the
building
Career
as well.
Center, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors.
Going to Peru, Machu Picchu for a service learning trip,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a powerful experience, and a lot of our students are going. It's going to be wonderful, so we're really excited.
2 days of
We have-
service in the Sacred Valley.
We have two children from board members going too, is that right?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Wow. So that's great. So one of the things that's important to us is
And
being,
the principal.
yeah, the principal, yeah, Matt House is going as well, is being the
Amazing-
global,
and the amazing teacher.
we want to be the global change leaders of the future. We want our kids to graduate that. And in order for our kids to do that, they have to have global learning experiences. And so it is exceptionally challenging for kids to raise the kind of dollars they need to raise to go on this trip. But our kids have been able to do it. So I think I'm speaking to the community. If this is something that you know, tugs at your heart and you feel like you want to help support kids who maybe can't afford to go on these kinds of trips, contact Don Boyer, because we'd like to, you know, certainly accept the support to have our kids sponsored to go on these trips in the future. So that would be great. We want all of our kids to have this experience.
All right, and the reason that came up was because we're looking at spring break, and the
Well,
trip is actually during spring break.
March
We
23rd.
back to that. Okay, so we're looking at setting up a work
So are
session.
we shooting for before spring break or
Well, we're shooting for certainly after the public forum.
after the vote forum?
So we have a March 8th regularly scheduled board meeting,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
do we want to do it before that? Do we want to try to squeeze it in between the 1st and the 8th?
What's that?
How's that?
I'm just tossing it out.
I'm trying to remember.
What do you,
What time is what's the start time for the
6:30
public
for the
forum?
public
Okay,
forum.
thank you.
regarding the
I couldn't remember if it was
facilities
6 or
concept plan?
6:30, right, I just couldn't remember if it was 6 or 6:30.
Well, anybody have any preferences?
Yeah, I could make that work. We're thinking like, did you say a time, like a
Say again?
5 to 7? Well, actually then start right away. For before the school board's
Minutes
next
prior
meeting.
to school
Are you
board?
thinking,
Is that what you meant?
I didn't mean that necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, because I guess I just meant if because of the way the calendar falls, we have a very, like we did this one, we have a very quick board meeting at the
Right.
beginning of the month.
March
Right.
8th.
So if we wanted to wait till after the first, squeeze, I just wondered,
Can I make a suggestion?
yes, please.
How's the 22nd look for you all, March
Yeah, I was
22nd?
looking at that too, because that's after our community tour
Well,
too. But people are sending their kids
It
off.
depends what, yeah.
Then the next day.
If I'm back from the airport, no, they actually fly on the 22nd.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Yeah. they
What
fly
time?
they
first
fly
thing.
on the 22nd.
Yeah.
You know,
It is an excused absence, just putting that out there, it's an educational experience.
What time, do you happen to know when the flight out of Dayton is?
8 o'clock.
In the morning?
Oh. You should be back from there.
I'm trying.
It will distract you.
We
Yeah,
might be
I had
flying
something
out of
else,
the country that day
but
too,
I'm not-
not
oh,
to
okay.
Peru, but somewhere else actually.
Okay, so forget that day.
Hopefully it's an excused
I had
absence.
something on my calendar.
This once.
Yes, you don't need to talk.
I apologize, if you can excuse it. So yeah, that 22nd.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, well, how about,
What about Wednesday, the 21st?
yeah,
Now I'm just.
after?
That's the day of the tour, but the tour will be over, we can do,
Yeah.
I can only do in the evening,
okay.
so.
The flight we're taking is.
Oh.
Okay, never mind,
Wait.
all right,
August 21st.
all right.
Okay.
How about Tuesday, the 20th?
The 20th works great.
In the evening?
I mean, the other option is to wait right after spring break before the next board meeting.
Let's
or
shoot for
the-
Tuesday, the 20th,
Okay,
evening.
What time is it?
like 5 or what? What do you think?
It's before or after dinner, that's the way I look at it.
Well,
Stevie likes to get thick, you know what I'm saying?
when you out to 6:30?
It doesn't have to go super late, just I'm in Columbus during the daytime for meetings, but I could probably be back by 5.
Okay.
Later.
I coach Lego League,
What?
that's till 7,
Oh,
Till
okay.
7?
yeah,
Is it 7?
6 to 7.
Is where are you coaching at? Is it here?
Girls,
Here.
yeah.
Okay, so can you be here by 7:15?
It's here, yeah. but
Well, I mean, I don't know about
I'll walk
parents and
over.
kids and things like
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'll
That
have
sounds
to,
quite
Parents, right?
unrealistic.
well,
Unless you're
right,
could do it at 4,
yeah.
but I don't know when.
I'll give Jaden home, it's not a problem. But
Okay.
yeah, as long as it's after Lego League.
And when are you back from Columbus, do you know, or?
No, I could be back in, like, if we were back to like 5, I could be back by then.
But we probably want to do it at 4 because you teach it.
Then I'll just leave early. Okay.
So that's the other
So to
option?
do earlier, yeah, earlier
Yeah,
is much better for the
Yeah,
action.
I think that after Little League thing doesn't sound so awesome, so yeah, let's just do it early,
Yeah,
and I'll
right.
just leave at 5 to be here.
4 to 6 on the
Yeah,
20th?
26, that's perfect.
The 20th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're calling this the board works meeting. Right?
Okay, so we're good.
6.
Okay, that's our next schedule. Okay, great.
4 to 6, Tuesday, the 20th of March.
Okay,
Got it.
Green County Career Center report. Okay.
You know, I got nothing for you this month. We don't meet, we're now behind schedule here, so I don't have anything new to report from the career center.
Okay. We are moving into other board member items. Anybody, did you want to say something, Steve? Please? What do you, you're going to talk about the economic.
Yes,
and
yes,
just a little
yes.
report.
Yeah, I attended the Economic Sustainability Commission, and it was a fact-finding, the purpose of it was a fact-finding mission to find out really what they want from us, and what in turn can we give to them. And so basically, I just found that, or their premise basically was that because they focused on the tax base, that they feel we should be knowledgeable about what they're doing and planning, and would like feedback as well as give info on anything that would be related to that. Basically, nothing until the levy talks gets it becomes an issue. Will we really have much to say until then? But beyond that, that was basically it. And but they would like us to be officially there, and like I said, I volunteered before, so I'll continue to volunteer as that position as the school board rep for the Economic Sustainability Commission.
Well, thanks.
No worries.
All right, did you have something?
I had a couple of things.
Yeah.
I just wanted everyone to know that if you run into any of the high school girl swimmers, they have for the third year in a row, we have a proud parent here, third year in a row, won the Metro Buckeye Conference Championship, so that's really, really exciting. And also Saturday, February 17th is the McKinney Chili Cook-Off, so everybody come out and either cook chili and enter it, because it is fun to compete.
Did you win last year?
I won a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's fun to compete, but it's also fun to just show up and, you know, taste the chili and visit with everybody. And the Clay Dogs and Clay Pups project, those bowls that they made will be there. So it's basically a big event to support the middle school, and specifically it's, I think, all targeted for the 8th grade trip to DC, all the proceeds, so.
Can I add two other things?
Please
New
do.
wrinkles to this is there's square dancing there put on by our 8th grade students
Cool.
with the corn drinkers playing
Oh, that's
and
good
calling out.
music.
Yeah, that's what they do for, that's their thing.
That's
Again,
no,
some old
that's
string music or something like that.
Wow.
And so that part will be in the
School
gym.
event.
And Don Boyer's been helping out, kind of trying to tie all those things together as well. So it really, this should be a fun night.
Nice.
Easy money spent.
Nice.
Expensive.
Very, very
I think you can start,
Your favorite.
public can come and start
Yeah,
competing.
So,
You're competing
I don't want this to sound so much like a shameless promotion for where I work, but Oxford, Ohio is not that far away, and all this semester through June, the Art Museum is featuring an extraordinary exhibit of artwork from African American children's books, including our own Virginia Hamilton, whose work is featured in the first gallery. There's, I think, 3 galleries. And I went to tour it earlier this week. It's an extraordinary collection of original artwork that then went into these books. There are dozens of titles that are represented in this, and so if you get a chance to go down to Oxford, you will not regret looking at this exhibit of kids' books.
How long is it there?
Till June.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh.
yeah, it's
Field trip,
dazzling.
field trip.
Field trip, exactly.
Oh, that's very cool. All right, thanks.
Steve showing us.
Okay, so I am doing a similar thing that I did last month when we went through board protocols and stuff. We included in our packet this month one of our policies, 3112, which is board staff communications. And it talks about how the board communicates with staff, which is an important piece of our ability and opportunity to interact with staff and so forth. And of course, because we all live in this town, we interact spontaneously at Tom's or at the library or whatever. And this particular policy really spells out what we sort of ought to be doing. So especially because we have a new board member, and also as a reminder because we all, try to be friendly with one another as much as we can. I just wanted to sort of review this and make sure that the board understood where things go, and again, it's primarily through the superintendent, and it's not because we try to not have conversations with one another, it's just to sort of respect how the communications go through and are funneled through and then get directed both to the board and the superintendent. So anyway, that's included in here, I just wanted to highlight that.
I
As sort of
appreciate it. I just want
education.
to say thank you
Yeah.
because, we going over this and even the convention or the conference, went over this, but it was nice to just actually kind of.
Yeah. So I'll continue to do that just as refreshers and reminders, but in particular because we have a new board member. So anyway, that's included in our packet. That's all about that. Anybody have anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Back into executive session.
Oh, or not.
Yes.